A lot of breaking news today. Achane, Tyreek Hill, Bobby Slowick. We're going to talk about why the values of these two gentlemen go up because of this man, Bobby Slowick. We've got Clint Kubiak maybe using a fullback in Seattle. We've got T. Higgins, Deebo Samuel, Brock Purdy, Kenneth Walker, Charbonnet conversation. We've got a lot to talk about. There's a ton of news today. The Fantasy Football Show, Monday through Friday. Breaking news every single Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. And live additionally whenever news breaks. That show begins right now. File on in.
Live from the FantasyFootballShow.com studios.
It's the Fantasy Football Show. Live!
Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Smitty is also live whenever news breaks.
But Smitty, Achane's gonna get hurt. Achane's too small to be a full-time back in the National Football League, Smitty. Achane was healthy all year, and all the haters and doubters, where are they now? Climbed under a rock somewhere, hiding like the coward they are. And Achane is looking up stock-wise,
Stock on the rise.
walking into 2025. And so is Tyreek Hill for all intents and purposes. I mean, we have to talk about it. I'm not saying I love drafting the guy. I'm not saying I draft him super high. But the security of this offense has now been solidified a little more because according to Tom Pelissero, offensive coordinator Slowick is joining the former Texans offensive coordinator Bobby Slowick is joining the Dolphins as senior passing coordinator per sources. This is fantastic news. And the reason it's fantastic is that Bobby Slowick had such a good 2023 that he was every bit as hyped up for a head coaching position as Ben Johnson was this offseason, as Kingsbury was and is this offseason, and Kingsbury's going to stay put. Bobby Slowick did what Kingsbury's doing this offseason. He said, Bobby Slowick last 2023, I'm not going to go head coach yet. Give me one more year with CJ Stroud. And then things fell apart. And while a lot of people are going to blame Bobby Slowick and act like Bobby Slowick is going to be, oh, look what he did. He folded. He didn't fold. He created a very good offense. And if you remember correctly, wide receivers went down. There was a lot of turmoil in the wide receiver room. Tank Dell, Diggs, and then Nico got hurt. So a lot of turmoil. And what did Mixon do all year long? Dominated. I'm not saying Bobby Slowick, who controlled the Houston Texans offense, controlled what Mixon was doing, where Mixon was. I'm not saying Slowick's going to be in charge of Mixon because he's the passing game coordinator. But this guy's mind is great for passing the football. If anything, this might be good for him. Kind of like a Ben Johnson or a Kingsbury or any offensive coordinator that is so good at offensive coordinating but doesn't do a good job head coaching. Maybe Slowick will be even better going down a notch and only focusing on the passing game. Where's the problem in Miami? The problem has been when Tua's been out or they haven't thrown the ball well, Achane can vanish because the offense is not two-dimensional, three-dimensional. It's a one-dimensional offense, easy to shut down when they don't throw the ball well. Bobby Slowick is a fantastic hire for Achane, for Tyreek Hill to a degree. Depends on where his ADP is. I'm not a huge fan of drafting Tyreek Hill, but it makes him a lot more attractive. Maybe we get back into the Tyreek Hill game a little bit depending on his ADP. All I can tell you is there could not be better news for Devon Achane right now. This is the best news. You don't need anything in the running back department to up his value. The problem's been in the passing department that's dragging down the run and making it impossible for Achane to do Achane things. This is fantastic news. Bobby Slowick to the Dolphins, passing game coordinator, help fixes some things and gets things back on track to a degree.
Let him cook.
Fantastic news. We've got more news, though. There's tons of it, so I'm going to move these characters over here. Thank you, Achane, for your service. Achane to the mother freaking moon this year. Bring him over, boys. Bring him over. Set him down. Don't be gentle. He survived all year without getting hurt. Set him down. Right there. Right there. Right there.
Achane. Achane is the man.
Yeah, I agree, Travis. Travis
Peters
says Slowick will be back in the head coaching talks in the next offseason. He bets maybe offensive coordinator step in the right direction than head coach. Or maybe he does get a head coaching job because he does such a good job. But bottom line is that this is fantastic, and I feel this is going to be very good for the Miami Dolphins. And you've heard several times Mike McDaniel say, if I need to take, play calling away from myself or take something away from myself, I'll do it, whatever it takes to make this team win. We all know Mike McDaniel has a good mind for schemes and an offense. The problem is he's deploying it in a piss poor job. So having a passing game coordinator might absolutely change this situation. So can't wait to see what happens there. Dak Prescott. This is Cowboys. Dak Prescott said he believes the Dallas Cowboys are very close to its own championship. People are going to clown on this, and I'm not saying I think that they're going to win a championship here in 2025. I'm not naive, but I do believe that Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys are far more advanced and ready to rumble than people give them credit. I think this is a team that can score on anybody, win any single individual game. They're a team that can't collectively come together in playoff scenarios and win multiple consecutive games in a row. But the Dallas Cowboys are loaded with talent. They got a horrible GM and owner in Jerry Jones who doesn't want to spend money, but maybe he's at a point where he makes a couple moves to make up for the sins of the past, the sins of 2024, the sins of ignoring Derrick Henry's phone call. Derrick Henry sat by the phone. His mom's stirring a pot of chili by the red phone in the kitchen. Derrick Henry's just sitting, twiddling his thumbs. Jerry doesn't even pick up the phone. Jerry doesn't even call him. He's had a lot that's gone wrong, and I think hopefully, there's a little hope that they try and do something bold. Even if it's just drafting Ashton Jeanty at 12 overall, should Ashton Jeanty fall, Ashton Jeanty deserves to go in the top 10, and I think there's not a chance in hell he slips past the Dallas Cowboys at 12. That could be the bold move that Jerry needs to make. This team's got CeeDee Lamb. This team's got Ferguson, who I still like a lot. They've got Dowdle. Actually Dowdle's a free agent. Maybe they bring him back. I don't know if the market will be there for Dowdle, so Dowdle could be in the cards for being re-signed on the cheap. But if not, I'd rather have Jeanty anyway. Who wouldn't? Who wouldn't rather have Jeanty? Am I right? Right. And this man right here is not crazy for thinking his team could win a championship. He's not crazy. It's not likely, okay? The odds are not great, but the team is a remarkable set of offensive weapons. Dak is proven to be a top 6 to 8 quarterback. He can produce those numbers again. He could dance in the 4 to 8 range all year, different games. He's actually one of the most crafty, underrated fantasy football quarterbacks in fantasy football 2025. You can make fun of it all you want, but Dak Prescott going in double-digit rounds, if you want to wait on a quarterback, if that's your strategy of choice or your best player available leads you down a path of ignoring the quarterback position for a while, this man can absolutely crush from double-digit rounds. There's no shame in drafting Dak Prescott, and everyone's going to forget how good CeeDee Lamb and Dak are together. No one's saying they're winning a championship. Your boy predicted in September the championship exact outcome against the Eagles versus the Chiefs. I should have listened to myself when I did the beginning of the playoff bracket, but I'm telling you, this is a team that's going to compete. Are they going to go past round 1 in the playoffs if they even make the playoffs? Probably not. Probably low probability. But are they capable of making the playoffs? Abso-mother-freaking-lutely. And if you're gonna sit on 2024 and make fun of this team and act like you know exactly what they're gonna do with Dak Prescott healthy, with CeeDee Lamb firing on all cylinders, with them getting an Ashton Jeanty, what are all you gonna do, you Dallas haters out there? And I'm not a Dallas fan by any means, but what are all the Dallas haters gonna do if Ashton Jeanty falls on this roster? It's a totally different look. They've got the number 12 overall pick. That's a lot. They could do a lot with that. Let's see what they do with that before we start casting judgment about this team in its team's inability to be a good football team. Not the best out there, but a good one. This one's interesting. Your boy talked about this before anybody did. That Aaron Rodgers going to the Steelers made a whole lot of sense. This man, Deshaun Elliott, defensive back for the Pittsburgh Steelers, is not having it. He roasted Aaron Rodgers after reading rumors that the team potentially could sign Aaron Rodgers. He wrote, "Leave his ass in a retirement home." I think this is the best place for him. I'm not saying they win a Super Bowl. They're not going to win a Super Bowl anyway. Tomlin can't get past round one. What are we talking about here? Send Aaron Rodgers and a soon-to-be-cut Davante Adams to Pittsburgh. Give Davante Adams and Aaron Rodgers their best shot. Give them a guaranteed playoff berth because Tomlin knows how to make the playoffs. And then let Aaron Rodgers do what he can do to try and muster up a win in the playoffs and let it be that. I don't really want a Fields or a player I want to do well to even go to Pittsburgh because every player in Pittsburgh I want nothing to do with. I'm not drafting anybody on that Pittsburgh Steelers roster in 2025 because I don't trust Tomlin or the way he operates or how he decides to use players when he decides to use players. He had Justin Fields, the best quarterback on his roster, sitting there all year, went 4-2. Went 4-2, 3-0 against playoff teams, and he benches them for a garbage moonball Russell Wilson that I told all of you was garbage and would not get it done. And when he won his first game, Russell Wilson, and Tomlin ran in like a schoolgirl into the locker room cheering and screaming, and then a reporter asked him a stupid question like, "Hey Tomlin, how'd you know to start Russell Wilson over Justin Fields?" And Tomlin sat there like a buffoon and goes, "That's why I get paid the big bucks." And I'm cringing in my seat. I'm throwing up all over myself. I wet my pants. I was so upset. And here this guy Tomlin continues to fail, and they keep him around. Now there's rumors about Fields maybe coming back. Maybe Fields will be the starter. They're going to move on from Russell Wilson. Well, what's that mean about your decision all year, Tomlin, to roll with Russell Wilson? You should be fired because of your incompetence to know that it was Justin Fields and not Russell Wilson. If you bring Fields back, not only will I be angry because I don't want to own a single Pittsburgh Steeler this year, and I do want to own Fields, you'll break him. Send him over to Dable in New York. Send him over to Shane Steichen in Indy, and they can trade AR5 away. Send Fields over to Seattle to throw to JSN. Let Fields go. Let Fields go. Okay. Anyway. I'm fine. Don't worry about it. I'm fine. Brock Purdy. 49er owner Jed York said he wants Brock Purdy to be there for the long term. This is something that the Niners are so good at. Screwing up contract negotiations and dragging them out and costing themselves more money. I do think there's a 50-50 shot. We've never had this before. It's been a 99.999% shot that the Niners wait, drag it out, create animosity between the fan base and the said player, and just make a big disaster and shard all over the place. That's what the Niners are so good at doing with contracts. Are they good at building good teams? Yeah. Are they good at getting to NFC championship games or even presenting themselves into a Super Bowl situation to only lose? Yeah. I'm not a Niner hater either. I support a lot of Niner players. I constantly am talking up players on the Niners. So don't even go there. Don't act. I'm an anti-Shanahan guy, just like an anti-Tomlin guy. But here's the thing that's different. This is normally a 99.9% chance that the Niners are going to screw this up, drag it out, and make a big debacle of the whole thing. And make the fan base hate a guy that nobody hates right now at all. He has done nothing. Everybody loves Brock Purdy. Everybody loved Brandon Aiyuk. And I told you the fan base would turn on Aiyuk, and they turned on Aiyuk. Damn, we called the Aiyuk thing to a T in the offseason. Nobody called it more perfect than we did. We were near absolute perfection predicting the Aiyuk situation. Here's what I'm going to say. For the first time ever, we have a 50-50 situation where the Niners might possibly just sign Brock Purdy early. Why? Because Jed York is the guy at the top. He's the guy that signs the checks, and he has said before he's going to give Brock Purdy practically a blank check. He said that, talking about Brock Purdy. He loves Brock Purdy. So he might circumvent all of this potential norm that goes on with contract negotiations, and he might just sit down with Brock, give him a reasonable 55 to Jed, which is absolutely asinine. And when I say reasonable, I mean, what in the hell are you doing? They're going to give him 50 to 55, maybe it's 52, before it gets out of hand, because it could climb. Like Brock Purdy waiting until June might cost them $60 million a year. So just give him 45 personally. Giving him 50 is insane, but they're going to give him 50 to 55, and they're going to call it a day and get this thing done. There's no hold in, no hold out, at least 50% chance that this is going to be handled differently, because Jed York is kind of stepping out in front of all of it this time, and it feels a little different than normal. Deebo Samuel, what did I tell you? What did I tell you in the end of the season? When they put Jordan Mason, when Kyle Shanahan put Jordan Mason on IR for a stub toe. I think Jordan Mason might have just slipped a little bit, hit his toe, his pinky toe. Maybe dropped a block of cheese on it when he was making a cracker sandwich. And what did Shanahan do? Put him straight on IR. Hey, get Mason, get on IR, pal. Why? Because he doesn't want another team to slap an offer on him. He's a restricted free agent, not an unrestricted free agent. And so basically what Shanahan's doing there is making sure no one knows he exists. They all forget that Mason was good. Mason didn't finish the year. He got hurt again. So no one's even going to come a knocking. But if Mason would have tore it up down the stretch, he would have had some team coming after Jordan Mason, and they were going to be pissed off about that. Deebo Samuel, much more of a, maybe we shouldn't put more mileage on him. Maybe we should keep him healthy. He's much more of a, put him on IR just to preserve him. But no, what does Shanahan do? Has him returning kicks, has him returning punts, has him getting water, has him doing coin tosses, has him doing commentary, has him all over the place. This guy's playing every position at the end of the year. Showcase, because Shanahan wants to trade him. He's healthy. Look at him. And he did do well at the end of the year. So teams might be like, yeah, he did actually kind of, let's look at the film. Yeah, he's looking pretty good at the end of the year. Shanahan's plan is to trade him. I don't know if he'll be able to trade him because his contract is going to be very complex. Will the Niners eat some of the money? How will that work? The contract is very much in the way. This is not an easy contract. Something along the lines of $30 million dead cap. It's horrible. So Deebo going somewhere is not a lock because of the deal, the contract. But this is something where it's Shanahan's wearing his strategy right on his forehead. And this guy was going to be traded. He's going to be sent packing. And what do the Niner fan base say? What does John and Kyle say? Oh, we're not in the business of trading good players. They even kind of came out and said, nah, not interested in trading Deebo necessarily. Now all of a sudden it's out. Deebo Samuel has been granted permission to request a trade, which means he wants out, which means the Niners want him out, and the Niners are saying, go get a trading party and bring it back to us, and then we'll work out a deal. Problem is, it doesn't mean it's going to get done because they have to agree on the compensation and then the big contract. So there's about a 50-50 chance Deebo Samuel does get traded. There's a 100% chance that he wants out and a 100% chance that the Niners want him gone. But the odds of it going down are still 50-50 because of the contract and the Niners being just tough to deal with turning, players into draft capital. But this from Matt Mayako. He's the lead beat writer for the Niners community. Bills, Chargers, Commanders, Steelers, and Texans are the best fit for Deebo Samuel, all of which we named yesterday and the day before. So you don't need any of these people because you got the Fantasy Football Show, who's already told you all of this before it was actually even out there. That's because we know what we're talking about here on the channel because we cook.
Let him cook.
That's all we do here. That's all we do here is cook. T. Higgins looking to cook. But I think he's looking to return and cook with Joe Burrow. I don't think he wants to go anywhere. I don't think his intention is to leave. What's Jeff saying? You don't know ball. You should probably stay and gain some info. Who are you referring to, Jeff? Who's running their mouth in the chat right now? Who's running their mouth, bro? Let's see here. Who is it? Someone tell me who is it that's running their mouth. I'll pull up their message and we'll read it. T. Higgins, according to Schefter, he believes the Bengals could... Listen to the wording on this. Listen to the wording on this. This is crazy because what am I telling you? There's no lock on anything, right? This is free agency. This is the NFL. This is news. This is buzz. Toxic Tommy. Let's see what Tommy's saying. Tommy, what are you saying? Or no, you just calling him a Toxic Tommy. What's got Timmy? Toxic Timmy? Timmy, what's Timmy saying? Timmy, say what you want, just watch. AB was a dog in his prime. This ain't Dynasty Pickens Jupiter for 2025. Toxic Timmy. Is Timmy saying anything crazy? Okay, yeah, you tell people to shut up, Toxic Timmy. Don't say that. Calm down, all right? Bro has, what are you saying? What are you saying? I don't even know what he's saying. I'm not going to even give him the stage. Timmy, calm down. Okay, stop telling people to shut up. That's my job. T. Higgins, listen to the wording from Adam Schefter. This is wild to me. Adam Schefter believes the Bengals could apply the franchise tag to T. Higgins before trading him this offseason. This report here, and this is from NBC, but I did read another report from Schefter that very much matched up with it. Why is the conversation before trading him? What about keeping him? I don't understand this. I don't understand why it's not in Rappaport or Schefter's mind that this guy's got at least a 50-50 chance of staying put. Don't give me the money or financials. I've already told you, the cap doesn't even exist. It's all a fugazi. Joe Burrow can move and change the cap space with the snap of a finger and a cigar smoke. So don't tell me that T. Higgins can't be kept. That is nonsense. So why are we reading reports that say things like the tag will be applied to him before they trade him? First of all, if they trade him, yes, the tag will be applied. Why? Because that's the way you keep him. Of course the tag will be applied. Otherwise you can't trade him. I don't even know what that even means. He's going to be tagged so they can hold him in place. They're going to try, first of all, Schefter, if you want to learn something, maybe watch this show. They're going to try and negotiate a long-term deal with him like they have been. And they're going to hit roadblocks. He's going to want a ton of money. It depends on if Chase gets his deal first. But this is not, we're just for sure trading him. They want to bring him back. First of all, Joe Burrow wants it. What Joe Burrow wants, you give Joe Burrow. If he wants to smoke a cigar and he wants his wide receiver room to stay put, you try, and you try hard, and you try for a while. And if this man makes it difficult or his agent makes it difficult, then you are going to have that tag still applied. He's tagged and traded, and you got to have a deal worked out behind closed doors for a contract he does with the new team, and then the trade's announced. There's a chance it happens before the NFL draft. But they got like a month or so to work on it, and this guy's acting like Adam Schefter, like that's not even one of the possibilities. What are we doing back there at ESPN, Adam Schefter? Use your brain, bro. Use your brain. Not saying it's a lock, but there's at least in my mind a 50-50 chance that T. Higgins re-signs it. Depends on him and his agent. I can't control what they say hard line, this is what we're taking or not at all. I can't control that, but there's at least a 50-50 shot that this man's staying put because he wants it, number one. Joe Burrow wants it, number two. And everybody knows it's the right move to make. What in the hell are we doing over at ESPN? What are we doing at ESPN, Shefty?
Take a big lap. We don't need your hating ass coming back now. Take a big lap. Take one and you don't come. Take a lap.
Take a lap. Okay, T. Higgins, thank you for your participation. This is interesting. This brings into question the values and the pecking order of this man, Kenneth Walker, and his counterpart, who we believe, quite honestly, is just as good, every bit as good, Zach Charbonnet, a.k.a. Sharbs. These are both remarkable running backs that both have a video drop on this channel. Charbonnet, we've got that. We've had that when he was, just a pup coming out of college, and we wanted this guy to land at a great spot. He landed on the Seattle Seahawks, and I ended the live stream. I was so upset because I didn't want to see these two in the way of each other. This is a marvelous running back, top 5 to 10 capable. This is a marvelous running back, top 5 to 10 capable. So we're still stuck in this situation unless they trade one of them. But at least we have some good news here from Clint Kubiak, who comes from a great family of success in terms of offensive coordinating, coaching. Seahawks offensive coordinator replaces Ryan Grubb. Clint Kubiak told reporters he plans on using a fullback in Seattle. And this could be very good, not just because of that proclamation, right? Maybe they don't end up doing it. But the fact that Toxic Timmy, stop, bro. Just stop. Okay? Or Travis and whoever's continuing to cause friction in the live chat, slow down. Slow your roll, or Travis is going to start putting you in the 1-minute timeout, or Blackbeard, or one of my amazing mods. Sick Nasty might be in the building. If Space Ricky's here, you better run. Clint Kubiak just thinking about running the ball, improving the offense, focusing on the run. Fullback, let's have this ground and pound game. That's fantastic for these two gentlemen right here. If I had to draft somebody and not draft both of them, I'm drafting Charbonnet at cost because he's going to go so much later, and I know what I'm getting with him, and I can still beef up whatever position, whether it's running back or wide receiver, I want with the Walker pick and not have the risk. Cuffing the two is still smart too. You could do that because he's had it such a late value. It's a pretty decent cuff. It's going to be the most important cuff in fantasy probably walking into this season, I would say. Corum and Kyron will still be one of the top cuffs. We'll reorganize the board. I don't know that I haven't set this in a while, but so far it looks pretty right. Sharbs and Walker number 1 cuff, Corum and Kyron number 2 cuff. We'll break it down. They're certainly all still kind of play a big part. I think Davis becomes a huge factor, midseason monster. Love James Cook. We loved him all season long. I'm not saying we promoted him in the offseason, but in the season when it mattered most, before he got on his horse, your boy said to trade for him. I love James Cook. But Davis is kind of a dark horse of mine. So we'll get back to this cuff board. We'll clean it up, make it all ready to roll. But this is going to be an interesting situation. They don't have a fullback on the roster yet, but Clint Kubiak is very intrigued by using the running game that he's got right in front of him. Maybe they trade Walker, maybe they don't. I don't know. It's tough to know. I don't know that I've heard anything that makes me think that that's a possibility. But at least we know that the running game is a priority for Kubiak and for Kubiaks in general. So we know this is going to probably go in a good positive direction, especially at cost of entry. Got a lot of news. Look at all these pieces of news. I told you we had a lot of news today. I can't wait to have this kind of day moving forward with all the awesome stuff dropping. Kirk Cousins, according to The Athletic, this writer at least, Browns might only be interested in, can afford a bridge quarterback like Kirk Cousins and Daniel Jones because of their commitment to the guy that can't even play a single snap this year in 2025. Deshaun Watson not tore his Achilles. He retore his Achilles, and he's now out for the remainder of the 2020 or the entirety of the 2025 season. So Deshaun Watson will never likely take a snap as a starting quarterback for the Browns ever again. So this makes a lot of sense because the pressure's off Kirk Cousins. He doesn't want to play a long time anyway. He's 35,000 years old. So he's probably saying to himself, yeah, I could do this for 1, maybe 2 years. Maybe I play so well, they cut, and they're probably going to cut him anyway. They cut Deshaun Watson in the offseason. They're going to do that, not this offseason, the next offseason. They cut him, and then they're going to owe a lot of money to him. And Kirk Cousins can be, if they sign him to a 2-year deal, they can have their quarterback. If he can earn his keep, then he stays put. So it's a good spot for him. If I had to predict right now, I do think Kirk Cousins to Cleveland does make the absolute most sense. Very, very good fit. Not saying it's a great situation or that he'll rebound. I don't have a lot of confidence in Kirk Cousins right now at this stage of his career. But I'm just saying it seems like it could be a good move for a team that can't afford anything. Kellen Moore, Saints officially hire him as head coach, former Eagles offensive coordinator, NFL champion offensive coordinator Kellen Moore. Uphill battle, as I've seen some of you write in the chat, and we've said that for a handful of days and weeks now. It's not going to be easy. And Ben Johnson's time in Chicago could be rough too. Just because you're a great offensive coordinator does not mean you're going to be an amazing head coach. And just because you're an offensive coordinator turning head coach doesn't mean you'll fail. but this is not a great spot. The fact that he picked this spot, not a good move. Unless they get Justin Fields or trade for Anthony Richardson, I don't know how this is going to be a good situation for him. But Justin Fields, I might change my tune. That's my caveat, because I do think he could fix a lot of teams. Brandon Aiyuk, according to ESPN, Nick Wagner, Brandon Aiyuk knee could be ready for the start of the season, though that's uncertain. Not a good sign. Not saying he can't get ahead of schedule, but his knee was pretty brutal. It was not a clean ACL tear, and he's also a complete head case right now. He's been ever since the offseason. The guy just lost a lot of his focus, and his mentality changed. And sometimes when you pay a player and they get a boatload of money, it goes to their head. And the fact that he's got that potential risk of the money going to his head and never getting mentally right and being injured and coming back from a devastating knee injury, there's a chance Aiyuk busts and never, ever returns to being an elite football player. Because he was on the verge of being an elite wide receiver. He was not in the elite group, but he was like a guy that could have a cup of coffee. And he was, on the outskirts. Could he be number 7? Could he be number 8 out of all wide receivers? Felt a lot like JSN felt walking into this past year. JSN didn't we put him on the Saturn man list? He's going to explode. JSN could be the top 5 wide receiver this year.
The Saturn men.
One small step for man.
The Jupiter men. Jupiter is so...
Where's JSN?
The Saturn men.
One small.
He's on a shuttle to Mars.
Did I not? Maybe. Oh.
The moon man. Dropping.
Oops. I mean, here. Look into the light. Forget everything you saw. There might be a Saturn man being dropped in the next 24 hours. Go ahead and look into the light. You will not remember anything you just heard or saw for the last few minutes. Boom. JSN is, yeah. Derek Carr, as we talked about yesterday, some poor sap team is going to think this guy's a starting quarterback. Why would you sign him? Why? I'll tell you why. Because people don't know what they're doing. Some of the NFL, maybe a third or more of the GMs in this National Football League don't know a clue about football. They don't know jack about anything. And some of these coaches don't. Some of these offensive coordinators don't. This guy's going to land somewhere as a starter, and I don't doubt it. But I hope it's not any team we need fantasy football output from. Jonathan Brooks, Athletic, reports his knee is he's likely to miss, if not most, all of the 2025 NFL season. He retore his ACL. Remember, in case you forgot, this is not his original ACL tear that he was coming back from all of last year. He tore his ACL, and he's going through everything from scratch. So I'm not even going to invest in him. If I don't know that I would cut him in Dynasty and try and trade him, but I have no faith that he's going to become a great player. Athletics, Diana Rossini reports the Jets were open to the possibility of retaining Aaron Rodgers if he attended all mandatory practices. Good for Aaron Glenn. I'm a big Aaron Rodgers supporter because I hate all the people that are against his politics or against him being just his own person. I do think he's wild and off his rocker. I think he's an absolute nutcase. But I respect somebody that speaks, what they feel to be true, stands by their convictions. And so I'm a big Aaron Rodgers fan overall, especially the earlier part of his career. But good on Aaron Glenn. I'm also a type of person that thinks that a head coach needs to have control of his team, especially one going into this situation where it's been a loose ship the entire time. Everybody's been able to do what they want. Aaron Rodgers kind of controls the whole team. They need to move on from Aaron Rodgers. And good on Aaron Glenn, who's going to be about running the damn football, Breece Hall to the moon.
The Jupiter men.
I don't even know where he is.
The Saturn men.
He's on a shuttle to
there
Mars.
He is. Mars man Breece Hall, who's going at 3.5. Kyron Williams at 3.9.
Spinning aimlessly in space.
Don't look at me that way. Don't look at me as if I'm making these numbers up. They're third rounders ADP wise. I don't make the rules. I just take advantage of them. So there you go. By the way, go watch this Dynasty video on my Dynasty channel. Link in the description. I just dropped this video. I'll drop the link in the live chat right now. If you're not subscribed to my Dynasty channel, my intention is to drop a Dynasty video every single day. And if I miss a day, I'll try and do 2 in one day. That's going to be my goal going forward. 9-minute and 59-second videos on the Dynasty channel is going to be kind of the ticket. That's the ticket. That's what we're trying to accomplish. Very quick 10-minute shows, very different from this show to keep it, a different characteristic about it. Anyways, Aaron Rodgers decided he was not going to be told what to do. If I don't want to go to mandatory, practices, whatever, I won't go. Then they said, you're out of here. They also said they didn't want him on Pat McAfee. They didn't want him doing midweek during the season or even really off season media shows, and just, he wants a calm. Aaron Glenn wants a calm environment that's not on stage for all to watch. I love what Aaron Glenn is doing. He's going to get back to defense. He's going to get back to the run. Aaron Glenn knows what in the hell he's doing. I have a lot of faith in Aaron Glenn. So this is a good move. It's smart. Again, this is not a knock on Aaron Rodgers. It's just they need to move on, and Aaron Glenn's not going to take any bullshit from anybody. So Aaron Rodgers is gone. And we need a change in New York anyway, and we need it to be all about Breece Hall. And they're going to get rid of Devontae Adams. They're going to clean house. They need to bring in a new quarterback. Let's go. And Aaron Rodgers, go to Pittsburgh like I'm advising you. It's your best shot. I'm not saying you're going to win a championship, but you're going to get to the playoffs, because that's what Tomlin does. Gets to the playoffs and he loses. So go do your thing, young man, old man. Get on over to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Bring Devontae Adams with you and allow everybody else to get Fields and all these other players. Dak Prescott looking to amp up for his recovery from his torn hamstring. I think he'll be 100%. I'm not worried about Dak Prescott at all. As I mentioned earlier, I'm very excited about the Dallas Cowboy offense, and I think people are sleeping on them. Not saying they're winning a championship. There's two very different things. They're sleeping on that Dak can deliver and CeeDee Lamb can deliver, and the Dallas Cowboys can be one of the most potent offenses in the National Football League. This one's a little bit weird. You read it and you're like, what are you talking about? Stay away from Genty. Stay away from Scatterboo. Stay away from Dylan Sampson. Don't draft running backs. We need to be in starting jobs. These damn Niner coaches. Isaac Garendo News. The Athletic, Matt Barrows, writes that the running back seems like a position of need for the Niners. Why is anybody saying this? And please let it not be true, but I know it's true in the Niners' mind because they draft running backs like crazy because they break them. Every one of them gets hurt. Isaac Garendo, Jordan Mason, Christian McCaffrey. You've got 3 running backs there. Now they're going to steal Cam Scatterboo from us and draft him, or Dylan Sampson or Caleb Johnson. They're going to take a starting running back away from the fantasy football world and shove him on the bench and bury him right on the bench behind all 3 of these running backs. I can't stand it. I can't stand it. That is all the news I have. Stay away from Scatterboo and Genty, Kyle Shanahan, or I'll never stop live streaming about it. Every day I'll mention it. Dice Boy says, bro, Smitty, I understand you don't like the Niners, man, but you just don't know the roster. I don't know the roster. How about this, Dice Boy? How about I put you in a timeout for 30 minutes? Now you don't know comments. Now you don't know how to comment. Don't come in and tell me I don't know the roster. Dice Boy, this is what I do for a living. You don't think I know the Niners roster? What the hell is wrong with you? 30 minutes. Way to go. Way to go. Dial into the phone line.
Call into the show. Call into the show.
Way to put your foot in your mouth. You're gonna talk to me about not knowing football or not knowing the Niners roster? What makes you think I don't know the Niners roster, Dice Boy? I talk about them all day long, it seems, right? Yeah, right? Wrong, right? Enjoy your hiatus. 30 minutes for you. No show for you. 30 minutes. Dial in, dial in, dial in.
Call into the show. Call into the show.
Or Dice Boy, since you can't chat anymore, why don't you call in? And make sure you guys watch this video. I'll drop it one more time. Phone line's open for you, Dice Boy. Dynasty channel. There it is. Hit the link. Watch it. Video dropped. We're doing it live. Can we rely on Achane again? I'll let you be the judge of that. I'll let you. You know what? Let me. Why would you not be able to rely on Achane, Galaxy man? Especially after.
He's on a shuttle to Mars. Mars men.
The Saturn Men.
I don't know. I think I put him on here already somewhere. But not only do I talk about Achane at the top of the show and tell you that he's going to go to the moon. This is what the show's about. I've got a stock market arrow up right next to Achane's head, and you're going to ask me, can we rely on Achane? I feel like what am I doing here, Galaxy man? Am I even getting through? Why am I even here live? I feel like a teacher that taught a whole course and nobody listened. And then you're going to go take the test and go, are we going to learn any of this? All right, go ahead, Travis. You're live.
Hey, how's it going? Yeah, on the Aaron Rodgers thing, I know a lot of people think he's cooked and washed up, and I mean maybe he is. Maybe he'll be awful if he plays again, but I don't think he's completely cooked. And if you look at where he finished last year, he was QB 13, which means he's 2 or 3 good games away from being a top 10 QB in fantasy still. So when you look at that from that perspective, you know, that was on a complete dumpster fire of a team. And if he goes to Pittsburgh and he still has something left in the tank, you know, they might run a lot, but still, he's going to put up numbers.
Yeah, I totally think that as he starts to get older and he can't do certain things anymore, you need to go somewhere where there's a lot in place, a lot of mechanisms and process in place that doesn't rely solely upon you. And Pittsburgh's the most ideal place. It's all about defense. It's about ball control. It's about draining the clock. It's about lowest scoring games. It's about barely winning games. And Tomlin's good at that. Now, I'm not saying Tomlin's good at anything past the regular season. We talk about that every single day. I don't need to explain that. But Aaron Rodgers, if he wants to be in the playoffs, and then you say, okay, Tomlin's very bad at postseason, and Aaron Rodgers is going to go, understood. But do you believe in yourself, Aaron Rodgers? I'm not saying I do. I'm not saying John does. I'm not saying Travis does, or Bill, or Steve, or Bob. But do you, Aaron Rodgers, believe in yourself? And he's going to say, yes, I do. Okay, then why not go to a place where you're going to take the load off your shoulders, let this team walk you into the playoffs, and let's see what you can do. Bring in Devontae Adams. Let's see what you can do. I believe that Adams and Aaron Rodgers will have the best chance at winning a playoff game, or maybe even 2, that we've seen out of the Pittsburgh Steelers for the last 5 years. You know, this is a team that could be good enough to win 1 or 2 playoff games. No one, especially myself, is saying that they're going to go further than that. Nobody here. I'm not saying that at all. There's too many good teams that they got to walk into. But maybe they get lucky with the seeding and they end up playing just the right team. Maybe they play the right team at the right time, Texans, whatever. And they're able to win a game and look a little better. Aaron Rodgers' best shot to go out at least as on top as he can is with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think that they will look at this.
And there's structure built in there. Like you were saying how Tomlin can get you there. The structure is there too. So if he pulls any of his antics, they can either survive it and maneuver it, or they can shut it down pretty quick because they have the clout to say we don't put up with that type of stuff. And on top of that, it actually, if he can play well for a year or 2, or even 1 year, it gives Pittsburgh a really good chance to draft a QB like a Milroe or a Howard or a Ewers or something like that, and let him sit and let him learn. Because a lot of these guys that are going to get drafted out of the QB spot maybe shouldn't be starting year 1 in terms of how advanced they are, the talent. I know QBs start sooner than ever, but it probably would benefit a few of these guys to sit for a year and just get used to it.
It'll be interesting. As for Achane and Tyreek Hill and bringing in Bobby Slowick, who 1 year ago, I understand he in everyone's mind failed last year when it really wasn't his fault. It really was not his fault. He had Tank Dell, Diggs, all the wide receiver room was in shambles. C.J. Stroud was crying on the sidelines. Like, he had a lot going on to try and rally the troops and get this offense going. But Mixon looked phenomenal all year. Did anybody expect Mixon, even if you liked Mixon more than the average bear, okay? Like, you can pat yourself on the back of that. Did anybody, even those people, think that Mixon was going to do what Mixon did in the first 10, 9, whatever it was, 11, 12 weeks? Did anybody expect Mixon to look that good? The answer is no. Because Bobby Slowick knows. So, again, Bobby Slowick's going to be the QB passing game coordinator. But I still think his mind is going to allow everything to be fluid and now 2-dimensional, 3-dimensional. Instead of this 1-dimensional system, everyone knows Achane's going to run the ball. And this is a great, great signing. And I believe that you wouldn't bring Slowick in if you weren't going to lean on him. And so I believe Mike McDaniel is going to take a step backward in some of the duties because he knows his job's now on the line. He can't just go rinse and repeat. And so Slowick coming in, you don't bring a mind like that could have got any head coaching job he wanted, but he decided he was going to stay one more year with Stroud. You don't bring in a guy like that and then not use him. So I'm really intrigued. I don't know if you feel and how you feel about Tyreek Hill. Maybe this entire offense, they're kind of like the Steelers. I don't think they do anything in the playoffs, but for regular season and fantasy football production, Tyreek Hill could have a little bit of a resurgence. I suppose it just depends on if you want to take him in round 2, which I'm not going to do. And if that's where he climbs, I'm not taking him. But
yeah, I think anything that takes that load off of McDaniel is good. Like you said, it's tough to be that, that alpha coordinator and run a team. There's a lot more going on than people realize. And so if that can take a little bit of that pressure off of him, and, he's still going to be drawing up the plays. He's going to be, running the offense, but in real time during the games and practice and all that, he can manage the rest of the team like a head coach has to do. Because, if you slip up in one area, that can throw a season off. If one area you don't have your thumb on the pulse of your team, that can be it.
Yeah,
so
we'll see.
I think that just helps. And then, like you said, Tyreek Hill, I think with him, is he healthy and is Tua healthy? And I think if they're both healthy, he'll be fine for another year. But
yeah, I don't know that I can take him in the second round, though. Like, would you rather have JSN or Tyreek Hill? I'd take JSN in a millisecond.
JSN, yeah. I shy away from injury, like, almost to a fault. I'll say I'll pass on this guy. I'll take the guy that might be ranked 4 or 5 spots lower, but I'm more confident he's going to be healthy all year.
And just to give people
unless it's a truly elite guy, which I don't know. I don't know if Tyreek Hill is going to be a top 5 guy anymore.
Just to give people a little bit of an idea, Tyreek Hill is going wide receiver 12, and JSN's going as wide receiver 16. JSN's going at ADP of 31, so he's nearing the end of round 3, and Tyreek Hill is going at the end of round 2. So they're about a round apart, and they're about 4 wide receiver spots apart, and so that's evidence alone of why I'm never going to draft Tyreek Hill. I'm going to take JSN and players like JSN over Tyreek Hill every single time. So that's why I'm amping up Tyreek Hill a little bit more than normal, but to almost no result for me because I'm taking JSN who's going a round later. A whole round later and 4 wide receiver spots later. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. I'll even put the ADP on screen for anybody that wants to see it. But T. Higgins is going at 26 overall. Hold on. Let me see. Let me go. Let me put. Let me get JSN here. So we'll screenshot it from the 7 overall down to JSN's pick for wide receivers. This is ADP for wide receivers. I'll put it up on the screen. What did you think about? Well, actually, let me just do this real quick. Let me get it on here and show everybody the ADP. This ADP is the most accurate ADP too. This is updated as of this second. Okay, so this is what you're looking at. Here's the ADP data. CeeDee Lamb going at 7.5, still a total monster steal. Malik Neighbors at 11.9. There's probably no bigger steal to me because this is my wide receiver 1 or 2 in 2025. Of course, I draft Jamar Chase ahead of him, but Neighbors is my dark horse number 1, and he's my number 2 overall wide receiver in my opinion. So that's a steal. Lad McConkey, I like him. This is no knock on him, but I'm not taking him at 20 overall. I just can't do it. Tyreek, not taking him at 22 overall. T. Higgins, 26 overall. I can't. Even McLaurin's really hard at 27. I like McLaurin a lot. I just wish he was a 4th rounder or something. It's just a little bit too rich for my taste.
Yeah,
I'd rather go
JSN. Because it might bring in another good receiver there. So you don't quite know what the share's going to be.
Yeah. Deebo Samuel. Contract's going to be tough to move him, but we talked about the landing spots of the Chargers, the Steelers, the Dallas Cowboys. Let me see if I can find that clip real quick. Deebo Samuel, I think it's right here. Matt Mayako, Bills, Chargers, Commanders, Steelers, Texans. Texans make a lot of sense because they're down wide receivers and they could use a playmaker on top of that. I'm not saying that Deebo's going to have a lot left. Not saying how that will work out. I think it's a pretty decent spot, though, because there's targets to be had.
That's a good spot.
Probably could be the best spot, to be honest.
Well, especially because that's like a great spot for a team that has a guy like Mechie, who you think Mechie can be a pretty good wide receiver, but you're not completely sold on him. So, not even talking about fantasy, just in football. They kind of do different things, so that could work out nice having those two guys there behind Collins.
I think because you got Commanders, he'd be the number 2. Because of the Chargers, he'd be the number 2. Because of the Steelers, he'd be at least tied for 1, not the number 1, not the number 2. It would just be Pickens and him just eating into each other's work. Bills are just confusing, and we saw Amari Cooper, who I believe didn't drop off completely. He just was in a spot where he couldn't do anything. I think we're gonna see as he's a free agent, and we've talked about this, and Travis I think agreed with me that if Cooper goes somewhere else, he might shine a little bit for one more year and do pretty well. Buffalo's a tough spot, and they spread the ball around so weirdly. Deebo Samuel, I'm not saying I don't like it. It's probably my second favorite landing spot, Deebo Samuel to the Bills, but I would say because the CJ Stroud and the Texans throw so much, and because Tank Dell and Nico, once upon a time when he was healthy and doing well, they both were thriving. There's definitely enough targets to go around, especially with the major void in the entire wide receiver room where it's just Nico and it would be Deebo. This is the best place for him to get targets. So, yeah, we're in agreement there. I hope he goes to Houston. I don't know if that's where he would want to go. I think it's not bad. I think a lot of people do like C.J. Stroud from an NFL player perspective. I think, he might look at Pittsburgh and say, no, thank you. He might look at, might keep weather into consideration. I think the Commanders would be an intriguing spot for him. But I think Adam Peters, while part of you thinks, his connection to the Niners, he might be able to pull off a trade, right? He didn't want anything to do with Aiyuk. He didn't want anything to do with Aiyuk. He didn't want anything to do with Deebo earlier. And he certainly has a let's build this youth mentality around JD5. I don't want JD5, and I think Adam Peters is thinking the same thing. And Adam Peters, I believe, does not want JD5 to get used to somebody that's just going to fall away. Why not build something from the ground up and build it up and have, camaraderie? You already have Terry McLaurin, at some point going to unravel a little sooner than you want. So the next player they bring in is Godwin's 28. He'll still have 3-4 years. So Godwin you could bring in, or it would be T. Higgins would be the most ideal, or some amazing rookie selection that Adam Peters is one of the best drafters in the National Football League. He drafted George Kittle. He drafted Brock Purdy. He drafted player after player after player over in San Francisco, and then he just drafted JD5. What's everybody think of that? He also drafted Ben Sinnott, who I believe is potentially the best chance of a player currently on a roster in the NFL that no one knows about, really talked about, has no clue. could be the next George Kittle. If there is a George Kittle hiding on a bench where he has not even been unlocked whatsoever, I believe it is Ben Sinnott. I'm not saying it's a guarantee. I'm just saying I trust Adam Peters. I trust my eyes. And when Adam Peters and I see something the same way, I know it's a lock. That's how I knew JD5 was such a smash, because not only did I believe it, Adam Peters believed it. And if him and I are on the same page, you better lock that Shiat in right away. And I think that he's not going to want to go after an old dog, but you never know. It would still be kind of a cool scenario and situation, but I think he's going to look somewhere else. So I don't think Washington. I don't think the Chargers. I think he would want to play in Washington, but it won't work. Buffalo, maybe he does see this as a championship opportunity, so maybe he does pursue that. And remember, Deebo is going to be in charge of getting his landing spot lined up. So he's the one given permission to seek a trade. His agent and him are going to pick up the phones and say, hey, Bills, hey, Steelers, hey, Texans. I believe the most receptive team without a hesitation will be the Houston Texans. Real quickly, Travis, hold on 1 second. Paul from Georgia, you're live. Thanks for waiting, man.
Yo, so what do you think about T. Higgins? Because I feel like he has the most explosive landing spot out of all the free agents, and anywhere he can go, he can make an impact.
I don't think he's going anywhere though. That's what I think it's a 50-50 chance that this thing gets weird, but the Bengals. That's why I'm just laughing at Adam Schefter's report. Or was it Schefter, Rappaport, same thing? The report was they're going to probably slap the franchise tag on him before they trade him. He's not gone. He's not gone. First of all, Joe Burrow wants it. And if Joe Burrow wants it, they're at least going to give it the college try. And the college try doesn't mean, last offseason. It's a whole new offseason. It's a whole new market. It's different money. It's a different negotiation. And if Joe Burrow wants it, bro, Joe Burrow is going to get the college try. This is not, I don't understand why Schefter and Rappaport are reporting it the way they're reporting it. It makes me not trust a word they're saying right now if they're that oblivious to what the situation is in Cincinnati. Not only does T. Higgins want to return and Joe Burrow wants it to happen, the fan base wants it, the organization wants it, they're going to certainly give it a try. There's no way they just let T. Higgins walk away, it has to be a trade, but walk away from this situation without really trying to put it back together. And there's no animosity from T. Higgins. He had a remarkable year. He loves Joe Burrow. He's a quality stand-up guy. He wants his money, and this could get ugly, but it's certainly going to get ugly before there's even a conversation about a trade. That's why I don't understand what's going on. Maybe I'll be wrong on this. And look, how passionate I am against it. Sometimes I'm dead wrong, but it's not like my thought process is wrong. I'm wrong in predicting what an NFL team's going to freaking do. And that's what when I was this passionate about Lamar Jackson, bro, I'll be honest. I was saying to people that called in like you think a team's not going to go get Lamar Jackson for 2 first-rounders? I was berating people left and right on that, bro. Because it's the only thing that makes sense, and I know it's true. I know it's absolutely the right decision for a team to surrender, any team that didn't have a Joe Burrow or a Patrick Mahomes or a Josh Allen or a Lamar Jackson or a Lamar Jackson type already. Those teams, yeah, they're not going to do it. But any team that didn't have an elite quarterback should have slapped down 2 first-rounders without a hesitation and taken them. I was right. Everybody else was wrong. But who ended up being wrong? Me. So Higgins could be gone, but I can't. My logical mind can't wrap my head around how people like Schefter and Rappaport are not reporting that this thing is a sign at all costs. Bring them back before it's a trade. And anybody that says that the money won't work out, it's nonsense.
Well, I think a good example of this would probably be the Tyreek Hill trade, Everything was going good in the Chiefs, and then all of a sudden he went to Miami for the money, But on the flip side of that, you gotta think about if he actually does move, where does he land?
Well,
if he goes to the Chargers,
We've talked about this a lot. The Chargers is not a good spot. It might be a good football spot, but it's not a spot that we want him to go to. You got Lad McConkey there on a team that is going to have a run mentality. They're going to throw a little bit for sure. And they threw more than we expected because they had to. But this is Harbaugh's going to want a balanced approach. I think Higgins going to that situation is not the best one. Is it the worst ever? No. But it's certainly not better than Cincinnati. I think sometimes as human beings, bro, and this is the psychology, this is why I love psychology. This is why I study psychology. It's why I bring it to the show as much as I can. As a human race, bro, we have a tendency to want to watch a train wreck. And when a train wreck happens, we almost wish it didn't happen. We're like, oh, why did I want to watch the train wreck? Why did I want to watch that player, fall down on that play? I actually want him to score. We're weird people. Our human race is so weird. And for some reason, a lot of people want him to move, and they just think, oh, it's a change. It's new. He's better in Cincinnati than he is anywhere else. There's not one location, even Buffalo, where he's better off moving. He's got the rapport, the camaraderie. The offense is so electric. They throw so much. The defense is bad enough. Even if they repair it enough to win a championship, it's still going to be never going to be the number one defense in the league. They're going to have to still throw. He gets enough volume with an elite quarterback in this situation that's going to trump going anywhere as the number one. Because there's not any place but Buffalo where there's a clear number one spot available that has that type of quarterback. So where's he going to go? Where's he going to go that's better? The Chargers are not better. The Texans are again, like I said with Deebo, pretty decent for targets and stuff, but it's not better. The Steelers is piss poor because they're going to want to run the ball. It's going to be balanced. You got Pickens. You don't even know who the quarterback is yet. The Commanders are very intriguing and interesting. Why? Because long term, McLaurin's going to slowly tail off. The Chargers the Washington Commanders are the best long term spot. The Bengals are the best now spot, and it's not even close and that's my opinion. I get that other people will have different opinions, but if you want T. Higgins the ball, don't wish for the train wreck. Don't wish for him to go elsewhere. And I'm not saying that the Chargers are an awful place, but I don't understand why people say Pittsburgh and the Chargers. I think you're a Charger fan, right? You got to be.
I am a Chargers fan.
Yeah, so you're looking at it from a totally different lens. But Charger fan and Pittsburgh Steelers fans, they're always like, send him to the Steelers. We'll take him. He'll be great with us. Yeah, it's a great football move, bro. Higgins to the Chargers is great for football. It's great for wins. It's great for, from an NFL perspective. But it's not making T. Higgins a better player.
I agree with the Commanders pick, though. If he goes to the Commanders, that he can actually make an impact there. There's still McLaurin there, but I feel like Higgins can do really well.
Yeah, the problem, though, here's where the problem lies with T. Higgins. And Matto, I see your question about the franchise tag. Here's the problem. My prediction, which could be wrong, because logic does not always play out in the NFL. There are some owners. This owner of the Cincinnati Bengals looks like he's sleeping when he's talking. So, I can't control everything. I can only lay down the logic. The logic would be this. If you're the Commanders and Godwin's sitting there, you're the Commanders and other players are sitting there. And frankly, it's Godwin. And if Cooper Kupp gets released, it's Cooper Kupp. If Adams gets released, it's Adams. And that's really essentially it. It's Amari Cooper a little bit, which you could sign Amari Cooper and still go after T. Higgins. It shouldn't impact it too much. But Godwin, Cooper Kupp, maybe Adams, but mainly Godwin. You're sitting there and you're having to make a preemptive move on bringing Godwin in because he's going to go like that, bro. It's kind of like saying, okay, I'm going to put down a bunch of $20 bills, okay? You can only take one bill, but I might set down a $100 bill in about 5 minutes. But I'm going to set down 4 $20 bills right now. But if you take a $20 bill, you can't take that $100 bill later. What are you going to do? You don't know that they're setting down the $100 bill. You don't know that Higgins will be available until all of the players are signed, the draft is over. There's a shot that things unravel enough that they make a draft day trade to try and get now draft capital. That's certainly in the cards. But by then, it's still Godwin's long gone, all these players. So you're stuck in a spot where you don't have a chance to maybe go get a player. So that's the problem. Is will the Commanders say, "Give me Godwin now," and if T. Higgins becomes available, it sucks, but it is what it is. We can't take that chance. That's part of the problem with the Washington Commander landing spot. But if they play their cards right, they say no Godwin, no wide receiver. We're going to draft a rookie, and we're also going to go after Higgins hardcore. And then they don't get Higgins, they still get the rookie. Things will be okay. That's what you're kind of hoping that the Commanders do if Higgins is your end game. But Higgins is not on the move right now. They're not trading T. Higgins right now. Only if things get bad, which they certainly could.
So from a dynasty perspective, you would just wait and just wait for the news and just see where it goes
before I trade Higgins or trade for him.
To acquire.
No, I think that if he stays, it's great, and if he goes, I think that some might see his value increase, some might not. I don't think it'll tank. It's possible if you went to Pittsburgh, I could regret advising you to make a trade preemptively. But
if you went to Pittsburgh,
I firmly believe that he's got a greater shot at staying. I firmly believe that he will have a great shot at staying in Cincinnati. It only makes sense, and Joe Burrow is practically commanding it, bro. He's practically saying, I will renegotiate my contract however I need to keep T. Higgins in Cincinnati. And what did T. Higgins do? He was absolutely amazing at the end of the year. So he earned that consideration. So I'm telling you, T. Higgins is a quality teammate. And I know he's looking at money for sure, but he's also got Joe Burrow on his side to make this happen, bro. That's a very, very strong advocate because Joe Burrow's the one that's going to move some money around. All right, last question, then I got to go.
Okay. What are we doing with Anthony Richardson?
We don't know what.
There's a lot of talk of the Colts wanting another quarterback, but I don't think that's true. I feel like AR is the guy. I know he's kind of like still progressing as a QB, but
you don't think it's true. Why don't you think it's true though? Because they benched the man in the very beginning of his second year, which was he only had played, I think it was 2, maybe 3 full games the year prior. So they benched him before he had played 10 games. And you think that they believe in AR5 completely? I don't know if they do.
Well, after the benching, he did better,
Still didn't answer the question.
It's still hard to tell.
I think that Anthony Richardson's a crapshoot. I'm not saying there isn't some huge upside, but Shane Steichen's the guy to bring it out of him. But why did Shane Steichen quit on him? You got to ask that question. I still like him a lot. I almost feel like I almost rather see him go somewhere else, bro. I'd rather see him go to Dable in New York or just somebody take on this guy. Go to Seattle and throw footballs to JSN. Go somewhere else and just have a different situation and let Dable, Shane Steichen, who cultivated Jalen Hurts and turned Jalen Hurts into the player that he is today. I would love to see Shane Steichen get that opportunity with Justin Fields. So I would swap out AR5 for Fields in a heartbeat.
Ooh.
And then you get draft capital to replace AR5, and you have Fields for free because he's a free agent. It's the best way to build the Indianapolis Colts up. All right, gotta go, Paul. See you later, bro. Rock out, you're live. Rock out. He's in the building.
Give me a what's up.
What's up? What's up, Rock out?
Yeah, I like the Achane situation, but I only wavered just because of basically the backup quarterback situation. Like, when Tua goes down, they're a nutshell for themselves.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a problem. I guess the only thing you look at here is that can this guy move the football differently through the air? And Bobby Slowick is the right. There's no other person I could think of that I'd rather have here to micromanage the passing attack. I can't even like Ryan Grubb would be intriguing. Yeah. I'd come up with a couple names for sure, but this is like the perfect person to bring in because he's proven. And even though he failed last year in Houston, he still did a lot of good things. Mixon was out of his mind good. So I want Bobby, even though Bobby Slowick is not in charge of the run attack, he will be in terms of throwing to Achane. He'll be designing all of Achane. Half of what Achane does could be receptions, and Bobby Slowick could be architecting that. So he does have control over half of Achane's game. And also keep in mind, bro, Bobby Slowick, the way he used Mixon last year, he's not in the business of wanting to advocate for a multiple running back situation either. Like, he loves using one RB. So I'm fine with this situation. I think that you're right. There's concern, but at the end of the day, bro, I don't care how Achane finished or what kind of games he had, how many strings of bad games he had. Hey, Smitty, look at him without Tua. Look, Tua was out for a big chunk of the year.
Yeah.
Big chunk of the year. What did he finish in 2024? Running back what? We got Gibbs at 1, Barkley 2, Bijan 3, Henry 4, Achane 5. So how can an anti-Achane person come in here and argue that Achane failed last year under the duress and craziness? He didn't. He was still running back 5.
Yeah, it was more effective by Tyreek Hill than Achane.
Yeah. All right, back to Travis real quick. Travis, what else you got?
With what's his name there, Adam Peters. I think we obviously started to see it. We talked about it this year. The 49ers have to be careful because I think they kind of leaned on him a bit to find those diamonds in the rough, and that window is closing fast there. And if they don't address that, there could be problems. And then just on T real quick, I was going to say for fantasy, if he doesn't stay with Cincinnati or he doesn't go to Washington, almost hope for fantasy that he goes somewhere where he's the no doubt number one, because you want him to get targets, because otherwise he's kind of a 1/2. He's not a true alpha. I don't think very good, but.
Yeah, I think T. Higgins he's definitely a low-end wide receiver 1 capable guy if he's healthy. The health is the part that always gets me to knock him out of the 11, 12.
Right.
But, I mean, I do think he proved himself last year. But the problem is, and I think he knows this, is like he's in the perfect situation. And, again, for anybody that wants him to go somewhere else because they just want to see a train wreck, so to speak, let's see chaos, and I want to see T. Higgins somewhere else. No, you don't. You don't. The grass is always greener when it comes to these situations, and I promise you that Joe Burrow and the Bengals offense and the way the Bengals defense sets up the offense, and I don't think they're going to improve it so much that changes too much. They need to be able to stop teams, but it's still going to be the Bengals throwing the ball a ton to win games. And you don't, there's only, like I said, long-term Washington, even short-term Washington could be near as good maybe. But JD5 runs a lot. There, it's not always going to be, Burrow's got a chance to provide him more targets per game than JD5 does now. For future, with McLaurin falling off in a year or so, then Higgins is going to be in a great spot. So future-wise and for the now, Washington's the best. But I do think the Bengals are, even long-term, the Bengals, and especially the now, are just slightly safer. But the Buffalo Bills are the next best spot. Past that, there's nothing. There's nothing that's better than those 3 situations in that order. The Bengals, the Commanders, the Buffalo Bills. Because give me a quarterback that needs a wide receiver that is going to do what these guys are doing for T. Higgins. Nobody. He goes to the Raiders. Yeah, he could be the number 1 there, but who the hell's throwing him the football? He goes to, where? Like, somebody give me a location that's better. There is none. Dallas, he's playing second fiddle. He goes to the Carolina Panthers. Definitely could get saturated, but it's not quite the same offense. The targets probably could be there. They might not be. I mean, Carolina's crafty. I'd say Carolina might be in like the 4 or 5 conversation. But where else are you going to send them?
What do you think of the Patriots?
Yeah, and they're right there with the 4, 5, 6.
I don't think he'll go there, but I'm just curious.
I think May. I think
get the targets.
I think May is a good prospect.
All the money.
May is a good prospect. He's not a guarantee yet, but he is a good prospect. We've seen, quarterbacks hit a sophomore slump before, so it's not like I'm 100% sold on what they're doing there. They're changing. Like, he's got to go through more change. You get rid of a coach. There's a lot of concern that things will be completely, unleashed for him over in. But he's definitely like that. After you talk about the big three, he's definitely, I would say New England's definitely like 4 or 5 conversation. It's a very good spot. If you told me he can't go to Buffalo, can't go to the Commanders, can't return to the Bengals, then I'm 1,000% talking about New England in the next bucket of teams that feel like they have good shot, because the targets would be there for them. They would.
Right.
But I don't know if I'm ready yet. I'm not saying it can't develop into a good spot. I'm just not ready to call that as good. But yeah, I think that he's going to have to, it's going to get ugly before they trade him. Can you imagine? I mean, just think about it logically,
Something
guys.
would have to go wrong.
Can anybody imagine this organization? I mean, I guess I can imagine any organization doing this, but can anybody imagine this organization literally just all of a sudden, Joe Burrow's like, keep T. Higgins. I'll do whatever it takes. I'll restructure. And they just kind of walk right by Joe Burrow and go, let's trade him. You really think they're not going to sit down with T. Higgins and go, what do we got to do? What do you need? What's your number? Let's go back and forth for a little while. Like, people are wild to suggest this is happening. A trade's happening.
With a guy like Burrow and a guy like Chase that are going to be signed up, sealed and delivered for the next 5+ however many years they're good for. Why wouldn't you bring him back too?
Yeah, your team is, your offense is on point. The only thing you need to focus on is the defense. You take T. Higgins off the offense, now you got 2 pieces. This is too many holes to fill. Right now, you have no holes to fill in offense. This is all a defensive fix. And they've got the entire draft and some cheap free agent moves to coach up to get it done. Blico says Higgins to Jacksonville would actually be fire. I disagree, but I appreciate you. That's probably one of the worst landing spots of the possibilities, in my opinion. I don't know why you'd want him to go play second fiddle to BTJ and Evan Ingram. I don't. I know.
Gabe Davis and Christian Kirk.
No, thank you.
With T-Law struggling.
I appreciate you, though. I'm not trying to rip on your take. I just disagree with it. I'm just telling you. Nico, dumpster fire. The Mavericks just did it. The Mavericks, what a debacle. What a debacle. Did you see that fan that started like mouthing fire the GM? He just said it. The camera panned on him and he said fire. What's his face? He didn't even say it. He just lip reader. You'd have to be a lip reader.
Yeah.
And they went to a seat, escorted him out of the building. What a trash.
Wow.
What a trash
Like,
situation. That's what I think I have that right. Am I right on that, guys, or did I read that wrong? Reportedly, that's what I saw happen.
Wouldn't surprise me. Honestly, nothing with the NBA.
Was I correct on that?
Anymore.
All I know is the Lakers are winning it. I'm planning my. I'm not saying this is a bold statement, but apparently a lot of people are like, this won't work. It's not going to hand them anything. It won't work out. Everybody tries to build these super teams. This is going to be a complete lambasting, and for a couple of reasons. The way that they're operating right now in LA is fantastic. They're staggering the two, overlapping their minutes, and when LeBron goes out, you got him coming in. It's like, how are you going to defend that? What an unfair situation. Oh, LeBron's going to go down for a few minutes. Luka's coming in. Oh shit. Then they overlap. They overlap, but like Luka's on the second team. It's just crazy.
Need a better league.
they'll have to keep. They've been doing it so far, but if they keep playing defense, if they commit to defense, then they can get through the Celtics. Because right now the Celtics, I'm a Boston fan, but I don't watch basketball. But the Celtics are such a complete team that they'll wear you down. But if they commit enough to defense, because that's all you have to do in the NBA is just be committed to it.
All right,
it's exactly hard to beat them.
All right, back to football real quick. I agree. Higgins should be dealt for a pick to use on defense. I 100% disagree, Freedom, but I appreciate you. You could, as a person that considers themselves a very good talent scout myself, I can go find a second and third round player that I believe can hang with guys getting taken in the first round. I believe, as Adam Peters does, in my skill set to do that, to where you do not sacrifice an unbelievable part of your team that guarantees you how to be set, how to continue to elevate and put Burrow in a position to beat these teams, beat Mahomes, beat Josh Allen. Like, this Bengals offense is on fire. It's the defense that continues to fail, which I know what you're saying, but you don't want to then miss on the pick, lose T. Higgins, and now you've diluted everything. Keep what you have that you know is for sure fire right now, and that is the offense. And use your skill sets to go and get a damn player that is drafted later than he should be. We see this all the time. Look, and just from a receiver perspective, I know you could say that about a receiver, but look at like how much we liked, what's his face, McMillan. Jalen McMillan, and he just fell in the NFL draft. There's so much ability to do that. T. Higgins is on another level, though, and I think you need to do that from the defensive side, though. I'm not saying you can't do it just like that from the wide receiver perspective, but the wide receivers are a lot harder to land. Once you get past a certain number of wide receivers, you can't replace T. Higgins. You're just probably not going to do it. John, you're live.
I was going to say quick. When you develop an elite or close to elite guy, you don't get rid of him.
Yeah.
You keep those guys. Spend the lottery tickets on help.
Go ahead, John.
I don't think T. Higgins stays. They also have to pay Richardson, and the dude just started talking like, if you don't pay me, he's basically going to leave or request a trade. I think they can franchise tag him this year, but they need help elsewhere. They drafted a lot of O-line guys like 3 years in a row, and they missed. But my question is in regards to Dynasty. So I know everybody's going to take Ashton Jeanty at the 1.1, Superflex and whatnot, 12-team, 10-team, whatever it is. But do you like the players this year, or if you have a top 5 pick in Dynasty this year, not the 1.1 obviously, would you rather punt it and trade for a 2026 pick? Would you trade a top 5 Dynasty pick for a 2026 pick, given the uncertainty around some of these players?
Where's the 2026 pick? Is it guaranteed, or is it just could be middle of the pack?
Guaranteed.
Guaranteed what? Guaranteed what?
Guaranteed top 5, top 6. Technically, nothing's guaranteed, but
I would say that I like this talent a lot. I think Jeanty, I think Scattaboo, I think that Tet McMillan, Travis Hunter, another one of the RBs. There's enough talent here that I think you can find. There's going to be a BT inside this top 6 that isn't going 1. There's going to be on some level, or at least a slightly lesser version than BT, who finished number 4. So I'm not saying that we necessarily find the number 4, but what pick do you have?
I have the 1.2.
And Jeanty goes 1, and you have the 1.2. So you're trying to say, do I trade Tet McMillan or Scattaboo or Johnson or Hampton? Hampton could be in a really good spot too. Do you trade that player that's
detected at the front door,
not Jeanty, for a guaranteed top 5, but no idea if it's 5, 4, 3, 2, or 1? If it was the 1 overall, he can't take Jeanty. Genty's off the board. If it was the number 1 overall in 2026, I would take it. But since you don't know that it is, I'm just going to keep that number 2 overall pick, bro. It's a really good pick. Tet McMillan, you're going to have your choice. Keep in mind that there's nothing more true in life than that the sun will rise and that your draft pick in a rookie draft will only go up as you approach the NFL draft and go beyond it. Because what happens is people right now are trading the 1.2. You're not you didn't mention a player. You said I've got the 1.2. After April's draft, you will be calling up the show and saying, "Hey, do I trade Tet McMillan for 2026?" And that's when the picks become more valuable, when we can actually attach a name to the pick. So just wait it out, bro. It's not enough. If he came to you with 2 first-rounders, maybe you consider it if you're in a rebuild situation, but your 1.2 will only, I promise you, will only gain value as you wait. Every day it goes up.
Appreciate it. And I wanted to get your thoughts on Amari Hampton. Do you think he's like a legit go-to guy, like starter on day one, or do you think this guy ends up fitting and ends up being like an A.J. Dillon? Because I kind of see A.J. Dillon in the way he plays.
It totally depends on where he goes. I think this is unfortunately a running back stable from Cam Scatterbu down to Hampton, down to Caleb Johnson, down to Dylan Sampson, where any one of those guys could be the number 2 running back behind Genty. It really, unfortunately, will be landing spot that gives us the insight to whether they're going to get the volume. Do I think that Hampton has the most capability as of right now, and this is before workouts and combines and all that, has the capability of getting drafted the highest, likely into the best starting spot where a team needs him the most? Probably. But Caleb Johnson might sneak up on everybody. Cam Scatterbu, who's very doubted right now, might gain a lot of momentum or he might fall. It really depends, bro. I like Hampton a lot. If Hampton's in the right spot, he's going to be, I would say, at least James Cook good. If Caleb Johnson's in the right spot, he's going to be at least James Cook good. If Scatterbu's in the right spot, he's James Cook good. So we're talking about a second-round player from the jump. No matter, but we just don't know which one. But you have the 1.2, you have full control of that. And then maybe you're going with Hunter or you're going to go with Tet McMillan instead anyway.
And then as far as the wide receivers in this year's class, do you think any of them can perform at bare minimum the level that Ladd McConkey and Jalen McMillan performed this year? Or do you think that's too much of a stretch?
For sure. I don't know that anyone will be BT because that was wide receiver 4. Like you shouldn't ever expect that ever again. But yeah, McMillan? Oh, of course. I think you could easily, I think, first of all, Tet McMillan and Travis Hunter could easily be, one of them could be a top 14 wide receiver, top 11 to 15 wide receiver. It's possible. Do I think that there's somebody like Mbuka or somebody else that's going to end up being a top 25 guy? Yeah, for sure. I really like this class, bro. I think people that rip on this class, I feel like I don't know where they're coming from on it. It's very situation dependent though, because it's parity.
We've been spoiled.
There's a lot of parity and
A lot of good receivers.
yeah. We have been. I mean, we're not going to get last year's result, but we might get a couple guys that are right there. It's just we won't get 7 of them. You know, we won't get 6 of them, 5 of them. But it's your job. It's my job. It's all of our jobs together collectively to pinpoint the most likely shot of getting the closest thing to BT we can find. That's all we can do.
And then the last question is in regard to the wide receiver out of San Jose State, Nick Nash. I think he's a 6-year player, which is the only concerning part. He won the Triple Crown. Do you think that this guy's a sleeper in any format?
I think there's a lot. I think there's a lot of sleepers, bro. And again, unfortunately, there's so much parity with this draft class beyond Genty and McMillan and Hunter that we are literally, unfortunately, for one of the first times. I mean, sometimes I give you the spiel of landing spot is going to determine this or that, but this is the one time where I literally am trying to warn everybody. There's no way to know. There's no way that talent just rises up from a lot of these situations because there's not a bunch of teams that need running backs that are where these guys could climb no matter what. There's a lot of places where these wide receivers could go and do nothing. There's just the way that the draft is set up, the way that these picks are likely going to fall for some of these guys, being that a lot of running backs go in the 3rd round. You know, a couple could go in round 2, But round 3, 4, you have teams that are taking them that don't need them. You got Kyle Shanahan in this reporter earlier that the Niners need a running back, and they've got Garendo, Mason, and Christian McCaffrey. And they're going to be probably one of the teams that takes one of these running backs that I've mentioned, whether it's Caleb Johnson, Cam Scatterbo, Dylan Sampson, Hampton. The Niners could, I think Hampton goes too high. I think obviously Genty's going to go in the top 12. Hampton's probably going to go at the 2-3 turn or at the beginning of round 2 at the latest. I think Caleb Johnson could go right there as well. But then all of a sudden, bro, you've got Judkins, you've got Henderson, you've got all these guys that could easily slip to the 3rd round. And then you got the Niners grabbing them.
Is Nick Nash a guy that's like on your radar? Have you watched any film on him? Have you heard about him?
I've watched
anything at all?
I've watched every player known to man coming out, but I don't have a good feel over a lot of the players that are outside the top 6 or 7 because a lot of the time these players are so far off other teams' radars. You're not even, there's only so much you can expect. You know, they have to really shine in a workout to climb into an amazing position, most likely. So that's going to be part of the problem with some of these guys. Even when we look at like Gordon or Etienne's brother, the running back, and we start looking at these guys, we go, I like them a lot. Well, it's good that you like them, but are they liked by other teams? So where guys go, draft capital is super important. The NFL is very fickle and weird. If you've got 4th round ADP or 4th round value, you're looked at as more expendable. Don't ask me why. There are some coaches like McVay with Kyron, some coaches, you know, like back in the day with Arian Foster, undrafted free agent, Kurt Warner, walk-on. Like these players, coaches believe in them and then they support them without a hesitation. And then there's other situations where if you're a 4th rounder, you're probably going to get cut at some point. You're probably never going to get a shot at some point. A lot of people had the same mentality with like James Robinson, you know, he's never going to get a full, fair shot. And you know, his draft capital was low. So the moment he had a hiccup, there's no investment. He's gone. So that's the problem is you've got very little room for error. All right, I got to go, bro.
One last question, and I'll go. Who's your favorite player outside of Ashton Jeanty in this draft? Thanks a lot, Smitty.
All right, Larry. It's tied between Scatterbo and Dylan Sampson. I love both of them. All right, Vinny, then I'm going to go back to Rockout, then over to Travis, then I'm going to end the show and be back tonight. Vinny, you're live. Go.
Hey, Smitty. I got a dynasty question.
Go.
You think it would be good if I traded the 1.3 and Chase Brown for Bijan? Or is that overpay?
1.3 and Chase Brown for Bijan. Do you have the depth to win with this Bijan side if you end up getting Bijan?
So I have Bucky, and I also have the 101. I'll be taking Genty.
Woo. And who's your wide receivers, running backs? What do you got?
I got Ladd, Marv, CD, Devontae Smith.
CD?
And Olave.
Did you say
yeah,
CD?
CD
okay, yeah, maybe lead with that. Okay.
Well,
so well, can I ask you a personal question? Why do you list your best receiver 3rd? Has he not earned, like, especially like when you're especially when you give someone your team, they're analyzing a certain way, and then you throw CD in. Now I'm all jostled. It's like asking me to judge it up while I'm hanging upside down. Okay.
Sleeper just has it listed weird, so he was further down.
Yeah, you make that trade. You've got enough firepower to say, okay, Bijan over Chase Brown, and what if this doesn't land, bro? The 1.3, like, go do the trade, smash.
That's amazing.
You've just been Smitty approved.
All right. Anything else, Vinny?
No. Appreciate it, Smitty.
All right, later, bro.
Yeah.
Let's make our wide receiver ones great again. Can we list them first? Rock out. You're live. Final thoughts.
What's your thoughts on Mason Taylor, the tight end from LSU?
I don't love this year's. I don't hate it. I'm just not super sold on this year's rookie tight ends. I'm not saying that Warren. You've got Loveland, some people like him. I don't know. Taylor, Helm, I'm not. Warren's like the top guy, and then it's like I don't really know. I'd much rather because the tight end position doesn't develop or evolve the first year traditionally. Brock Bowers is going to make people think it will. I'm letting everyone else deal with that, and then I'll come in the sophomore year of these guys and decide who I like, because that's what happens. That's how Hawkinson, when I was the highest on Hawkinson in the entire fantasy industry, according to rankings data that broke it down on Hawkinson his sophomore year, because everyone jumped ship after his rookie year and lowered the ranking, and I'm like, this is gonna be his year. So, Ben Sinnott I like a lot. We'll have a tight end, a sleeper tight end video. Could Warren be that guy? It could be. But we'll have to see. Landing spot's going to be important for him as well. I think sometimes these guys will go a tight end like that could go so early that he might go to a great spot. He might go to a spot that doesn't even have a good quarterback. So we'll have to play it out. All right, rock out. Appreciate you, bro. Call him tonight. We'll be back tonight. All right, later.
All right, cool.
We're gonna draft tonight. Travis, final thoughts.
I keep seeing, and tell me if you think it's just smoke or what, but I keep seeing more and more on Warren that people are thinking he could go in the top 12 of the draft. Do you see that?
I mean, it could happen. I think his workout, his combine, will very much cement that idea in, or kick it out to the curb.
I'm seeing a lot of good stuff about him. So
yeah, I mean, he's a good player. I don't disagree. And let me pull up Tyler Warren's stats. College stats. Let me pull it up on screen. Drop it. I mean, he's a good player. I like him. I don't dislike him. But keep in mind that Michael Mayer, like some guys that have come out that I think have been better, didn't exactly thrive right away. It's just the tight end position is different. It's still the one position.
Spot, obviously.
It's still the one position that just takes some time. Brock Bowers he did not break the ceiling yet, and everyone's going to follow, on in. This is Warren's receiving numbers. They were really good. 104 receptions, 12, 33, and 8 touchdowns. He had a year. When I watch him, I like him. Is there a possibility he turns into a Kittle? Like, sure. But do I see it yet? Not really. But I do like him. I could definitely get behind this kid as a fantastic prospect. He's very, very highly regarded, and there's a lot of teams that like him and they want him bad. It's just, where does he go? I'm telling you right now, he could be a moon man for all I know. I could have him on the moon man list. I just need to see more. Sometimes I know before it happens. Sometimes I don't. I can't see everything 1,000 steps ahead. And this is a position this is a player and a position from this rookie class that I'm not yet ready to plant a flag on. Because if I plant a flag on everything, then there's no meaning behind anything. So I'm just kind of holding off. But I'm not ruling out an idea, the idea that he could become something great. It just depends where he goes. If he goes somewhere like, just even thinking about, I don't know. We'll have to break it down. But I'm going to run right now, Travis. I'll see you tonight. We'll go live and we'll do some drafting. All right, later. Guys, appreciate you. Thank you, BBQ, for dropping this. Why do you guys want to trade a part of an elite offense? Crazy draft defense. Let the offense cook. Thank you, BBQ, for dropping that earlier. I put it up here so people would read it, but appreciate you dropping that super chat. My man, BBQ to the mother-freaking moon. I'll see you all tonight. We'll be drafting tonight on Underdog. Promo code Smitty. Here's the link if you want to participate tonight. Code Smitty gets it done, but this link will be easier. Inserts code Smitty for you. Has you download Underdog with my code. Gets you 50% matching your first deposit. And you'll be ready to rumble with us tonight as we hammer through the ADP advantages that you can do right now and draft teams that you shouldn't be drafting. Kyron in round 3. Bucky in round 3. Breece Hall in round 3. They don't deserve to be there. And we're here to clean up while it lasts. And you got to draft early in order to take advantage of that. See you all later. Appreciate you.
The stack above all stacks. It's time to drop the pancake emojis in the live chat.
Live Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. That was this show right here. Live, additionally, whenever news breaks, and live most midnights Eastern. See you tonight at midnight.